contact list. Okay, so this time I'll at least completely rely on my contact list. I'll target the Instagram users. Okay, I'll target only those Instagram users who are in my contact list. Either they would be in my professional sphere, or let's say पर्सनल. तो जिनको मैं प्रोफेशनली या पर्सनली जानता हूं उन्हीं को मैं टारगेट करूंगा. ओके, सो आई एम गोइंग टू कंडक्ट द सर्वे विथ known active, I mean, I'm going to at least conduct the survey with Instagram users, active Instagram users who are known to me. Why? Because I can't at least approach all the Instagram users or the randomly selected Instagram users. First of all, I cannot at least have a list of all Instagram users in India. Okay, I cannot have that list. What should I do now? If I don't have, let's say, list, how can I at least assign random numbers and select them based on a simple random sampling or any of the probability sampling plan? It's not possible for me. You get that? Yes or no? What should I do? I don't have a pakka list of Instagram users in India. So I'm going to select them from my neighborhood. In my let's say contact list, FB contact list, let's say Twitter contact list, or let's say Instagram contact list, in my phone book, people who are living in my society. Okay, those are my colleagues, those are my friends of friends. I can ask them. Okay, so that's how it's convenient sample. Okay, so let's see what is written for convenient sampling plan. Selection of the sample units is done according to the investigator's convenience. Okay, for consumer research, investigation may go to the shopping malls and take a response to those who are available. Okay, I did once this kind of survey that I wanted to know that what are the basic requirements of Indian airline passengers. Okay, those who travel at a domestic level. Okay, so I went to the Ahmedabad airport and then I randomly asked the people if they would like to help me. And I also at least asked to my friends, those who have recently traveled via air. So this is how I just at least conducted the survey. Okay, in that particular let's say study, the population was all those Indian let's say citizens who are frequently traveling by air. It's a too big census for me. Okay, these are the least expensive, saves a lot of time. I mean, believe me. Could be biased, of course, because you may at least forget to choose variety of people. Okay, if let's say your neighborhood or let's say your contact list is not, let's say, field with variety of people, then definitely it could be biased that way. Judgmental. Judgmental sampling is units sample are selected based on researchers' judgment, particularly individual represents the population. So market research regarding the Hotstar entertainment may be selected the youth from the neighborhood. That's why I want to understand that why people are choosing $399 package of Hotstar over, let's say, 1500 package, 1500 rupees package. Let's say I just want to know that. So I can at least now many people are using in India. Let's say lots of people are using Hotstar, but I cannot approach to them because I don't have a list of them. I don't have a pakka list of the Hotstar users in India, and through any medium, I don't find any possibility to get that list. So in that case, what should I do? I have to go for a non-random sampling, and I can at least ask certain people who can at least give me honest answer. That's the people who are in my neighborhood, those who are the fierce millennials. Okay, I should not use that language, but yes, those who are like fierce, or let's say carefree millennials who are living in my society, I can ask them that why you have chosen this particular package over the 1500. Okay, so this way I can, because I assume that, oh, they can answer me, that's why I'm selecting them. So from my neighborhood, if I go with that kind of let's say preconceived notion that, okay, this people, or let's say this group of people can answer me, and I should ask them only, I should at least conduct a survey with them only, okay, because they are going to at least answer me genuinely, okay, then I can at least so this way it's a judgmental sampling. I hope you got this, yes or no? Many times it's like a pilot study, it's a very small study that you just at least uh, can be used to at least check whether your exercise or entire research will at least give you the insights that you are looking for or not. Okay, quota sampling. It's the extension, Praveen. It's the extension. Inconvenient, you don't use your judgment. Randomly just select the person from your contact list without thinking that, oh, that person could answer or not answer, without making any assessment of person's ability or inability to answer. Just ask them. That's convenient. Sorry, I have to use that analogy, but we have to discuss something more. That's why. Otherwise, I could have discussed a little bit more in depth. So quota sampling is what? Based on the convenience. This is again the extension of convenience. See, in the probability sampling, every way you just use that simple random. Okay, you just assign the random numbers, and even in the stratified and the cluster, okay, we just divide the groups randomly. Oh, sorry, we just divide the groups first. But again, next time, I mean, in the next stage, we just at least adopt the simple random sampling itself. Same way here, the convenient sampling being used every time. In the quota sampling, again, this is the extension of, you can say that this is the extension of quota sampling. But in what way that is different than the convenient sampling? Let me just explain. So let's say in, let's say, okay. Here I've at least quoted this example that, so let's say there are 1 lakh FB users in my city. Okay. So I assume that there are 1 lakh, FB users are there in my city, in my town where I'm living. Okay. Let's say 20% of them, okay, 20% of them, okay, are female and 80% of them are male. Okay. Now, if I conduct a sample, or if I conduct a sampling, if I conduct a sample survey, and let's say I simply want to know that, okay, how many of people are convenient or comfortable with the stories, because nowadays the FB also having stories, right? Since so long, but yes, in FB also we have stories. We can update the stories. We can edit the stories. We can update the stories. We can just put the stories. I mean, do you aware about that? Do you aware about that? Stories. So let's say I just want to know that how many of, let's say I just simply want, I simply want to know that how many of the FB users are comfortable with the stories. Okay. How many of the active Facebook users are comfortable with the stories? And let's say from my neighborhood, I have chosen 10 people. Those who, and I identify that, okay, they are the active users. So I've targeted them. Okay. Because they can at least help me to fill up my questionnaire, because my objective is to know the comfort level with the stories in FB app, right? So in my sample, if 2 people are males and 8 people, Okay. Let's say in my sample, let's say sample of 10 people, let's say sample of 10, let's say 2 are females, 2 respondents are females, and 8 respondents were males. So I have maintained the same proportion exist in the population. Okay, I have maintained the same proportion of gender. I have maintained the exact proportion of the gender exist in the population. So in population, in my city, there are 1 lakh people who are using Facebook, or 1 lakh active users. Out of them, 20,000 or 20% are the female Facebook users and 80% are the male Facebook users. Now, based on the convenient sampling, I have chosen 10 people, but I have maintained intentionally, okay? I went with the pre-decided mind that, okay, मुझे 8 males ही चाहिए जो Facebook active users हैं. And then I am in a search of 2 active Facebook users, okay, who are female, okay? I can select them as my respondent. So this way, I just try to bring the same population proportions exist there in the population. Okay, so it is called quota sampling. I hope you got this concept. Understood? Yes or no? Other factors can be there. Gender is, see, Damar, this is just an example. It's my habit to discuss the concept with some examples, so that so that it's easy for you to remember. Otherwise, gender cannot be only there. I mean, you can do anything in it. Vidhi Shah is asking me if I can explain again. Okay, Vidhi, let me just. Vidhi, imagine that you are living. Imagine that you are living in state of Punjab. Okay. Imagine that you are living in state of Punjab. Okay, just a second. Let's try to find it out that how many companies are there in the. So in the state of Punjab, let's say this is a split of. If you can notice, okay. If you can note it down, okay. Let me just copy these figures in the chat box. So I have copied these figures in the chat box. Now you are going to tell me what is the proportion of this. Can you find out the proportion of this? Let me just do it for you. So it's like very easy job then. So let me just find out the population proportions. So this is a summation. Okay. So in the state of Punjab, what percentage of companies are private companies? What percentage of the companies are the private companies? 88%. Let me speak the percentages. अरे यार, now remember this thing. Now, who has asked this question? Tejas, I'm going to explain. Tejas, I guess some people have picked up it completely wrong. I guess that's what I assume. Vidhi, Tejas, please focus on this table that I've shared with you. Private companies are 88%. One private 1% companies are there, like 1%, roughly 1%. Public companies are 9%. Okay. Now, let's say Vidi, you are living in a state of Punjab, and let's say you are living in the city of Ludhiana. Okay. Let's say you are working in a let's say government office. Okay. Let's say you are working in Ministry of Corporate Affairs office. Okay. Imagine that you are working in Ministry of Corporate Affairs office. Okay. And you are a researcher. Now you would like to know that how many companies, registered companies, okay, they have faced some serious challenges, or let's say they have faced a tremendous problems during the lockdown. This is what exactly you would like to know. Okay, just assume this. Okay, Vidhi. Now, let's say in your contact list, because you're working in a very let's say you can say that government office, you're working in a government office. So being a government employee, let's say you have some personal contact with the companies. Imagine that. Okay. So let's say if you have a personal or let's say in your professional list there are certain company owners. Okay, let's say you have randomly selected 100 company owners, and you have decided to let's say conduct their interviews, that what kind of challenges they have faced during the pandemic. Let's say out of this 100 companies, let's say 88 of them are private companies. Vidhi. So let's say you just before you select them, you have remember this population proportions, and you have make up your mind that okay, I am going to select 88 private company owners. I am going to select, let's say 10 companies. Okay, I am going to select 10 companies which are, let's say, public companies. Okay, and remaining are, let's say, I'm going to select two companies which are private one-person companies. Okay, so this way if you conduct, this way if you choose 100 companies, okay, now this 100 company ka selection is what, based on your convenience, because they were there in your contact list. Okay. Okay. Okay, Vidhi, Daman, got this? Is it clear now? So before you choose the respondent Vidhi, because you are completely aware about the population proportions. Imagine that when I said here you are working in Ministry of Corporate Affairs office, that means actual population proportions must be known to you, Vidhi, correct? Correct or not? Yes or no? Imagine yourself working in a Ministry of Corporate Affairs office. You must have idea about the actual population proportions. If you have an idea about the population proportions, then definitely before you conduct the study, you would maintain the same, you would retain the same population proportions in your sample. So this way, if you choose people in your from your contact list, or let's say from your friends contact list or friends of friends contact list, this way also you can say that it's like convenient but quota sampling. Yes, Tejas. Thank God you understood. Okay, the one which is left is snowball. Again, let's say what should be the example of for this? I wanted to discuss something else, but yes, say for example, uh, let's say you encountered some of, let's say you just want to carry out a study with that, say for example, that how many of people in your surrounding, they are like afraid of COVID terribly. Okay, so let's say you just want to understand that why they're let's say afraid of COVID so much. You just want to understand the reasons. You just want to study the factors behind the fear of COVID. Why people are, let's say, getting so upset with the COVID, or let's say they are extra precautious, or let's say possessive with this particular thing, or let's say they have a fear inside them. Okay, so let's say you want to at least understand that thing. But this is like something that if you openly discuss, nobody would tell you that, okay, if you're asking me that whether I have a fear of COVID, I'll pretend that I don't have. Maybe I have. Most of the people, they don't at least speak in front of. So these are like this particular sampling is very much useful when your research topic, or let's say when you are looking for very personal information from the respondents, or let's say you are like asking like very crucial questions, or let's say when people just due to certain social norms, due to certain customs, due to certain judgments inside them, that okay, what people would think about them if they reveal it. So when you are dealing with this kind of mindsets and the situations, this sampling can be very much helpful to you. Say for example, I just want to understand the factors behind the fear of COVID. And let's say I encountered that, okay, there is a person in my neighborhood who is like who's having a great fear of COVID. Let's say I ask him that what let's say exactly scares you, and then let's say if I go with a questionnaire, my list of questions, okay, then I can ask again and again, just try to understand that what exactly could be the factor behind the fear of a COVID. Once I finish the survey with that person, once I finish the interview with that person, or okay, I can ask that person, do you know somebody like you? Do you know somebody like you? Then why don't you suggest? Let's say I have done interview with this person, and from this person, I get to know two more people like him. And then I interviewed them also. Again, I asked these two people that why don't you suggest some people like you? So there is a chain of respondent. If this is respondent selection, yes, way based on the recommendations, yes. So this way it's called snowball sampling, where the referrals, okay, referrals is the concept. I mean, that's a word actually. Referrals depend on the acquaintances. Do you remember any dialogue? Do you remember any dialogue which can at least analogically explain this sampling? Yes, it's regarding the health that most of you have. Yes, Piyush correctly said in Jai Ho. There was a chain of help that if you help somebody, okay, let's say ask those person, instead of thanking, instead of let's say expecting that person to thank you, ask that person to help, let's say other three people like him. Okay. Yes. Great, great. Thank God. Any doubt up to here? Now sampling errors. What are the sampling errors? You should know that what is a sampling error. Sampling errors occurs when the sampling is not representative of the population. When random sampling techniques are used to select the elements for the sample. I'll give you the break. This two concept, then I'll give you the break, Ajay. Ajay Prakash Sharma, definitely I'll give you the break. Sampling errors occurs when the sample is not a representative of the population. When a random sampling techniques are used to select the elements from the sample, and sampling errors occurs by chance. By chance. Okay, you should highlight this word. By chance. Many times the statistics computed on the sample is not accurate estimate of the population parameters because the sample was not representative of the population itself. ठीक है? कई दफा ये होता है कि if you select the sample from the population with a proper sampling, with an appropriate sampling procedure, still you don't get this sample which is a true representative of the population. Okay, let's say in my population, let's say I'm studying, let's say behavior of Ahmedabad Instagram users. I'm studying the behavior of Ahmedabad Instagram users. And if I found that, let's say, let's say in the population, let's say normally people use Instagram for 2 to 3 hours. And if I draw a sample and my sample is telling that no, it's not 2 to 3, but it's 1 to 1.5 hours, this is not a true representative of my population. Okay. No matter I have selected a good sampling, an appropriate sampling procedure also, but still this sample is not a true representative of my population. Because why? Because my population is saying that normally people spend 2 to 3 hours on Instagram in the city of Ahmedabad, but sample is saying something else, which is not true. Okay. So if your calculation mistake is not there to derive this, if you haven't committed any any calculation mistake in order to derive 1 to 1.5 hours, still your sample is chosen in a way that this value exists. Perceive that it's a sampling error. Okay. So with random sample errors can be computed and analyzes. Then non-sampling errors are like, other than sampling errors are non-sampling errors. Many possible non-sampling errors include the missing data, recording errors. Let's say my respondent has written 2. Okay. I perceived something else. Let's say 3. My respondent has written, let's say 5 in a vernacular language. I perceived it 4. This kind of errors. Okay. Yes. Ashwarya, correct. Okay. So these are like non-sampling errors. Okay. Take a break of 5 minutes, then we'll study the distribution of sampling. Okay. In the meantime, if you have any doubt. Any doubt, any questions, anything? Any doubt? Okay, let me just talk about SPSS. By the next session, if you can download the SPSS trial version, which is available online. Most of you, I recommend you to download this SPSS, because I'm going to discuss the SPSS. You may use Stata also. Okay. So I can discuss the analysis, because today I am planning to start the correlation by next. Okay, in the next session, I'm going to discuss the regression. For that, you require software. Okay, SPSS 19 or any version which is available online. If you search in a Google IBM SPSS, a link will come. You have 3 choices. Okay, if you want to practice with R, then I can give you the R codes. If you want to practice with Stata, then I can show you that how the Stata analysis can be performed in Stata. You can choose SAS also. You can choose SPSS also. Actually, you have 4 options. These 4 softwares I know. If you talk about the Python, I am learning that. So I don't have much idea about the Python. I'm learning it. That's why. SAS. SAS is working based on syntaxes, SAS R and Stata. In these 3 softwares, you need some codes. Stata is still working on point and click interface. If you are not having okay, SAS, so you can at least I can provide you the link. Okay, I can create a course for you, and then you can at least get the access of SAS. But you just decide. Okay. I really don't think so it's possible for me to teach each and every software in details, but I can discuss a little bit about it and you can have some practice. Okay. Sure, Priyanka. Next time in my PPT, you'll find a link. Okay. Probably next time you'll find a link. I'll share the codes also. In my PPTs, you'll find the codes also. So if you want to at least apply, if you want to use the software, you can do it. It's your choice, Siddharth. It's your choice. It's your choice. Completely your choice. This is what I can offer to you. Now it's your choice. Though I'm going to show you, I'm going to at least demonstrate the problem with SPSS because see, most of the people, they don't have IT knowledge, or let's say most of the people, they, let's say in the school, if you have studied language as a distinct subject, it's like very difficult, or let's say you're not having engineering background, then also it's like very difficult to at least write the syntaxes. But believe me, the syntaxes are like very easy. Nay, in exam you won't get access. This is just for your knowledge, Kritika. No, it's just for your knowledge. If you are asking, if you are thinking from the examination perspective, I don't think so in exam you'll get the software. No, really don't. Just for your knowledge, I mean. Because you are learning this subject, and if you don't learn software, I guess it'll be very difficult once you just go out of this institute and start working as a professional. At least you should know SPSS. Because in real world, manual calculations are like not needed now when you have a finest softwares, right? Daman is asking, are we asked in exam to draw the graph like histogram, pie chart? It's like very easy, Daman. Even I have drawn the graph in my whiteboard. If you look at it, Daman, even I have drawn that graph. It's like very easy. Imagine if the examination is being conducted on online mode, the data side would be less relatively. You'll have very few data observation. I mean, you'll have very few observations compared to real observation, real let's say data. You have very few observations. They'll consider. I mean, the examiner paper setter would consider your capability and the time required to get the answer. Definitely, for sure. Not need not to worry about that. If yes, we will we be needing to the customized model? What customized model? Kritika, that will help you to understand the method itself. Customize, not customize, but yes, definitely. If you know the calculation, then you can at least prepare the customized output. Kritika, Kritika. Kritika, it's like if you know the technique mathematically, understand it from the uh, calculation. Okay, if you understand the technique fundamentally through calculations, then definitely you'll get to know something more, and that will help you to interpret with a great clarity. I mean, ultimately, the clarity matters much, right? if we in the decision science, just perceive that. I mean, in this decision science, everything is like about the interpretation, how well you are interpreting the things. That's it. Use appropriate. First of all, you just read the data. Okay, understand the data well, apply proper technique, and draw some inferences. Okay, your conclusion, your inferences are the outcomes. Improve the quality of that. That's it. And if you want to improve the quality of that, you need to understand it fundamentally. Okay. Now there are certain examples which are there in your textbook. Let me just at least draw your attention there. So sampling distribution of X bar. Now this is what basically. There is a theory, because you guys have studied the normal distribution. Now I can just talk about it. Okay. So let me just go and discuss this in the white box. Now they are saying is, if the data is normal, let's say this is a data of, this is a random data, this is the normal data of, let's say 10,000 bulbs, electric bulbs, LED bulbs, let's say LED bulbs. And let's say they are saying that, let's say you just want to check the life of the bulbs by drawing a sample. Let's say you've drawn a sample of 100 bulbs. Okay. Here the mean life is, let's say 90 days, 80 days, let's say. Now here also it could be, let's say, very near to the 78 days. Let's talk about the realistic picture. Okay, in real life, you won't get 80, 80, 80 all the times. Let's say this is a sample 1, this is a sample 2 of 150. Okay, here also this is like 81 days. This is also like, this is a third sample, sample 3. Here also it's like 74 days. Every time you draw the sample, okay, this is sample 4, okay, and let's say the mean is could be 84 days. Oh, then you have so many mean. I mean, this is, let me just change the color so you can at least understand. This is X1 bar, this is X3 bar, this is X4 bar, this is X2 bar. And if you look at that distribution, okay, if you look at the distribution, let's say this is a distribution of X, okay, and here it's a life, let's say 80 days, okay, below 80 days. Let's say 70 days, 75 days, then let's say 80 days and 85 days. Now this is your sample 1. Let me just highlight through a bar. So it's 70, sample 1 is 78 days here. So this is sample 1, S1. What is S2? S2 is X2. This is X1 bar. X2 bar is 81 days. This is sample 2, X2 bar. Okay, 82 days. Then X3 74. Let me just choose a different color. So 74. The life here is 74 days. This is S3, X3 bar. So this is what? This is a basically, now this is, let's say 84. This bar is bigger, X4 bar. So this is known as a distribution of sample means. sample means. Okay. Now, there is a proven theory that if your entire population follows normal distribution. Okay. Now let me just talk about one theory. One person said that if your population is normal, it's following a normal distribution. Here, the life of bulb, 10,000 bulbs, follows a normal distribution with mean 80 days. Then the scientists say that if you draw a small samples out of this big population, then all those samples, okay, samples with certain condition, okay, under the certain condition, these samples are also following the normal distribution. This is what you can see. This sample follows normal distribution, this also, this also, this also. So if the population is exhibiting bell-shaped curve, then samples drawn from that big population again follows, again exhibiting the normal bell-shaped curve, approximate normal bell-shaped curve. This is what said by the Kreml. Sorry, this is what said by the a person who had said that this is what theorem of central limit. This is what the theorem of central limit theorem. Okay, so that scientist, okay, who had developed that, said that Kreml rule is applicable here. Okay, says that if population follows normal distribution, then the samples under the certain condition follows normal distribution. Now, what is that condition? What is that condition? So here, read these two lines. If random sample size n are repetitively drawn from a population that has a mean mu. Okay, in our case, it was 80 days. 10,000 bulb ka life was 80 days. So mu is 80 days and the standard deviation is so and so. Then the sample mean x bar are approximately normally distributed for a sufficient large size data. This is a condition. Which condition? N should be greater than 30. Regardless of the shape of the population distribution, if population is normally distributed, the sample means are also normally distributed for the sample sizes. This is what the thing is. So this is known as the distribution of sample means. Look at this. Okay. Here there is a small change, I guess. I need to do this. Let me just, if I